Hello and welcome to your Pointers for Parents podcast, where we support parents with anxiety related to teens transitioning out of the home after high school, whether they're heading off to the college campus or the military base, or it could just simply be residential interdependence. Listen, you all already know I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Lloyd, and I'm so excited about the two guests that we have today. I am super excited. So listen, we have today Lisa Speers. She's a writer and speaker. Some of you may already know her, and she has brought on her daughter, Kate, and I'm super excited. Listen, Kate, she's the youngest of 3 children of Lisa and Phil, and so I'm so excited that she is taking this Thanksgiving break from school and she has decided to join us. And so I'm super excited about that. So listen, I want to tell you before we jump in about Lisa and Kate, and I will begin with Lisa first. You know, Lisa, she created the Evolving Nest. She, of course, shares this beautiful family with her husband, Phil, as mentioned, of 31 years. They've been together for probably about 36, but yep, married for 31. They have these 2 adult sons and this 1 college-age daughter, Kate, who you all will hear in just a moment. And guess what? They also have a Labradoodle named Riley. I'm super excited. This is the first time I've ever heard about a Labradoodle, so maybe we'll learn a little bit about Riley also as we're chatting. And then also, she enjoys, and still talking about Lisa, she enjoys meaningful conversations with both new and seasoned moms. She focuses on inspiring mothers to maintain a sense of self amidst their journey of motherhood, and then also she passionately encourages them to pursue interests that ignite their inner spark. And then, of course, she helps them and advises them and counsels them on fostering this balance between nurturing their families and their individual passions, which that sounds exciting. So let's move on over and talk about this amazing, admirable college student, Kate. She's, as mentioned before, she's the youngest, of course, Lisa and Phil. Now, her older brother, he has autism. He still lives at home. He's 26 years of age. And then she has this 23-year-old brother who lives in Texas, of course, where I am. And, of course, where better yet, where Kate goes to school. She's at, of course, TCU, which is a phenomenal university. Of course, now I do want to mention that her 23-year-old brother, he works for an accounting firm, and they live about 30 minutes apart from each other. Kate is 20 years old. She's a junior, of course, at this amazing university, TCU in Fort Worth, and she's majoring in strategic communication. And she's currently working or has these 2 internship programs at TCU. So I'm so excited about what she's doing, where she's heading. We'll have to put on some sunglasses because we already see that future is bright. And also she is a member of Sigma Kappa sorority. So listen, Lisa and Kate, I'm so glad that you both are here. How are you doing?
This is Kate. I'm doing really well. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Lloyd, thank you for having us. We're excited. We just, finished a big Thanksgiving dinner a couple days ago and big football game last night. And so we're ready this morning.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And I'm glad you survived Thanksgiving. As for me, I ate too much and I said, wait a minute. So and we had lots of family members who had flown in, probably about 13 of them. And so then after we had done all of that damage on Thanksgiving, I said, listen, we need to go on a nature walk. So got my family up and we went and walked and did some hiking and all of that. So I'm so glad you survived it as well and that you're here. Usually our listeners like to know just a little bit about our guests before we jump into the questions. So I'd like to begin with you, Lisa, and I'd like to begin by asking you, what is something that you cannot go a day without and why?
Well, other than coffee, it's definitely connecting with family. I mean, Kate and I, everybody has different rhythms to communicate with their kids, but I love just the quick interactions that Kate and I have, and I just kind of need to know where everyone's at, and not every day, because that doesn't work for every kid. But I really am intentional about trying to connect with friends, and also, in the busyness of life, connect with my husband as well. So family and friends for sure.
Awesome. Oh, I so agree with that. Kate, let me ask you this. Tell us about two people who have had the largest impact on your life in your 20 years of living. Who are those two people, please?
I would say, so I know it's a little stereotypical, but definitely my parents, mainly because I'm kind of thinking about this, and just the big thing that stuck out to me was any dream I've ever had, like realistic or unrealistic, they've always supported me. And I think as a kid, you don't realize like how important it is to have that support. I wanted to be an actress at one point, and really thought I was going to like kind of make it big in Hollywood. And then I wanted to be a YouTuber. And so no matter what, like they put me in acting classes, and they like let me, make videos and post these videos on YouTube. And so I think as a kid, it's really instrumental in your personal growth to always have people backing you. And so that kind of gave me the confidence, growing up, and especially now, just to realize that I can kind of achieve, I mean, maybe not achieve anything and everything, but, it gives me confidence to realize, okay, like you're in a new job, you're in, college especially. So it's like you can go and do hard things. So I think definitely my mom and dad are two people that have made the largest impact on my life for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you said something pivotal in your response, that, doing the hard thing. Some people, I'm uncertain if many are able to resonate with that, because a lot of times people like to lean into doing the easy thing. What's the easiest and the quickest thing? But those individuals who do things because they're hard, like they're able to catapult their dreams and their passions on a higher level, because not everybody's doing the hard things. And for you to have your parents as your biggest fans and to be so resourceful to place you in those circles so that you're able to do the hard things, I think that's profound. So good. Thanks for sharing that with me, Kate. I appreciate that. Lisa, so tell me, so I'm thinking about so we have the sons, we have this daughter. The daughter is the youngest. She's preparing to transition out of the home to head off, of course, to TCU. And so just tell us some highlights, if you will, about your journey of becoming an empty nester, because that's, can you share?
Sure. I've thought about this, and I've come to realize that there are two things I did pretty well, and one that really has just struck me in the last few months, and I wish I had done it sooner. So the things that really helped along the journey is starting early. And we've talked about this. You talk about this on your podcast all the time, but when Kate was a junior in high school and my son was already in college, I started thinking about what are some of the things I'd wanted to do. And I had wanted to write for a long time, but I hadn't written in so long. It used to be something I journaled through middle school and high school and early college. And then I just set it aside for 30 years, and it's not that I didn't write, but I just really didn't. And so getting started on being really aware of things that light you up, I think is important, and just taking those baby steps. And it's hard to put yourself out there. It's really hard. I understand that not everybody wants to put themselves out publicly. So, I have a friend that wants to start being a yoga instructor, and she's phenomenal at yoga. Just taking that step to maybe invite a couple friends over to your garage to do, yoga, whatever those things are, keeping those in mind. And we've heard that. And the other thing is, if you're in a committed relationship and want to remain in a committed relationship, my husband and I started joking about being empty nesters probably when the kids were in grade school and middle school. And he used to say, we need to make sure we like each other when the kids are all gone. And it's funny, but it's really not, because it's a serious issue that a lot of couples are facing. And so I think those are the two things, is we really started intentionally working on our marriage. And whether that was getting counselors at times or reading good books or whatever it was, we started on that path of just kind of a growth mindset toward our marriage. And so those are two things, starting early and working on my marriage, are both things that I did really well. And the thing that struck me lately is and I run into this with so many other women I'm talking to as well, when we're not mom and wife and maybe volunteer, who are we? And so really looking at our identity, and if you have a faith, what's your identity in Christ? What's your God-given, gifts? And so that's probably the thing that I've really been delving into this past year, is who is Lisa because those are all titles, mom, volunteer, those are all titles, and they're all super important. And I encourage Kate to start thinking about this as well. And young moms who often get, they were doing all these things, and then they have a baby and everything goes into the baby, which when they're babies, that's what you need to do. But as you go along, I think a lot of us kind of got lost and need to rediscover who we are.
You said light up, like leaning into that light up, just what lights you up, and then plunging into that passion. I love that, because it's interesting. We don't know what we don't know. And if we have yet to reach that phase, like it can all come on us. And that's where that anxiety derives from, when we're unprepared for what is yet to come. And so that's so good. Even in counseling, therapist, whomever, that can just hold your hand and take you to that next level or that next stage of life. That's so important.
Yeah. And just paying attention in daily life, because some moms, when you volunteered in school, you lit up being a nurturer. And I love nurturing my children, but I found very early on, I was a project person. I didn't necessarily like these ongoing, volunteer positions where I was working maybe with flashcards one-on-one with the kids. It just wasn't, it didn't light me up. But to go in and just do the Halloween party or do a fundraising thing, as long as it had a start and an end. So kind of paying attention to, within being a nurturer, what nurtures you, because some people, when their kids leave, they go back and they go back into teaching, or they go back into volunteering in a school, and it absolutely lights them up. I'm done with that phase.
You said that's a wrap.
Maybe I'll get back into it, years from now with grandchildren, but I'm done for now. And so just really understanding what that feels like to you and being aware of that, I think, is super important.
Awesome. I love that. So, and I want to ask Kate this question. I'm curious to know from Kate, from your perspective, Kate, tell me this. What did your initial college transition look like? And how did you cope with any anxiety felt, if you did feel anxiety?
I think so. I was so ready to get out of high school that I think I was just more in the beginning, like really excited to just kind of move. Like I've always lived in Oregon my whole life. And so I was just excited to go somewhere new, Texas, and kind of meet new people. And so at first it was just all excitement. And then I would say the first time I felt anxiety was, so for TCU, you have the recruitment process before school starts. And so it's like you show up a week early, and then a bunch of like 1,200 girls go through recruitment. And so I think that can be if any girl out there has gone through it or is going through it, you kind of know there's a lot of anxiety to come with that. And so I think through that process, I had a lot of anxiety, because people are picking you, and you're trying to pick like different girls and stuff. And oftentimes you don't see a house again, or you do see a house again. And so there's a lot of unknown with that. And I think it was a lot of telling myself that, everything, I'm a big believer in, like, everything's going to work out like for the best. Everything happens for a reason. So if I didn't get into one house or whatever it may be, that it's always worked out. And I do have a faith. And so with that, anytime I've gone through something hard, big or small, I've always come out better on the other side. And I mean, so far, God has never let me down. And so anytime I've been in a place where it's been really tough and I'm like not sure how it's going to work out, how it's going to go, I'm always able to get through it and see the light on the other side. And so I think that was a really big support for myself as I was going through recruitment, because to some people that may seem very little, but to, a 19, 18-year-old girl, that process is very, very scary and stressful. And
especially in Texas.
Especially in the South, coming from Oregon, it is a big thing. And so I think that was the first time I really felt anxiety going to college, but I got through. I'm a Sigma Kappa. I love it. I love the girls in the sorority. So again, it just is a testimony for me that, it always works out. Yeah.
That is so awesome. And amen, by the way.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it sounds to me like, it starts in our own thinking. And for teens who are transitioning out of the home, it's like, like almost like we're teens are needing to encourage themselves. It sounds like self-talk and building up your own confidence, because what you think about yourself, that's what exudes in your environment and the energy that you display. You're listening to Your Pointers for Parents podcast, where we support parents with anxiety as it relates to teens transitioning out of the home after high school. To get additional tips tossed and or gems dropped, subscribe to our weekly emails by clicking on the link below. Now back to Your Pointers for Parents podcast. On the outside, I mean, that has a lot to do with just your interactions with people and how people see you. And you can like help people to see you in a certain way by how you see yourself.
Yes.
So that's,
And what I would add to that is, because I've seen it from both sides, Kate was always like a self-starter. Like she started cooking in kindergarten. She wanted to make her own pancakes, and I stood there and let her know the stovetop was hot, but she started a lot of those things early. So I didn't have to jam everything into the summer before she left. Now my boys are different. I was having to introduce laundry and introduce things where, Kate came to me and, I mean, what age were you when you started doing your laundry, do you think?
I think maybe third grade.
I did not put this on her. She came and said, I want to do my own laundry. I just want only my clothes in the washer together.
I still remember that, but I was very particular when I was younger.
So what I would say, because I've seen it both ways, is that if on these practical things that are going to come up in college, start as early as possible. Certainly by middle school and high school, start doing things. And even I turned over, at least in high school, maybe even 8th grade, her making her own hair appointments. So then in college, when you have to make your own doctor's or dentist appointment or whatever, that's a big deal to make that first appointment. And then you realize it's not that big a deal. And it's a big deal that you accomplished it, but it's not as difficult as you thought. And so trying to get started on some of those things early and not wait until the summer because also by summer they're checked out before college. And so trying to jam how to do laundry, how to cook, how to do this, how to do that all in at the same time is just too much.
You're absolutely right. I'm so excited that we have included in our transition success coaching program like 101 skills, life skills, including domestic maintenance, all the way from just so many, because like you say, it is important. And to do that in that one summer, that would be quite a bit. And so doing that throughout middle school and high school, it's essential. It is essential. So Did you realize, Kate, that your parents were experiencing something regarding this change that was upcoming? Did you realize that they were experiencing maybe just a little bit of grief, or as you were preparing to leave, or were you were just ready to go?
I definitely did notice. I was definitely ready to go, but I did notice that it was even though I was the last one to go, and really only the first one was my middle brother Connor. I did notice, I guess, like some grief, as you would call it, but it was never. I feel like sometimes with that, some parents can turn it into like guilt on their kids, and I never like, oh, like you're leaving me. There's like, what am I going to do without you? And I never felt like that, which was really nice because I know from different friends have experienced different things, and for some parents it's like, oh my gosh, my kids are leaving, like they're supposed to leave, but then on the kids it's kind of added pressure because they're like, well, I want to go, but I feel like I'm leaving my parents and stuff. And so I did see the guilt, but it was very much in a way of like, they love me, they're gonna miss me, which for a child, or well, not a child, but for a young adult is actually really comforting, because it's like you love your parents and it's nice to know that they're going to miss you, but at the same time they're always going to be there. At least in my situation, it's like I know they're not going anywhere, and the reality is they love to travel, and so I see them pretty frequently. It's not like I'm never seeing them while I'm at school, and so I did see the grief, but it was very much I would say more of a comforting way to know that like I will be missed and that they're always there for me no matter what. So.
Oh, that's so good. And although you transitioned out of the home, mature and a level of confidence within yourself, how would you say you've evolved personally and socially now that you're a junior? Like you're a whole junior, Kate. Like, I mean, like certainly there are some tips or things along those lines that can be shared in reference to, also other students being able to find their way. I know that's a two-part question, but yes, if you share, that'd be great. And then I do have another question for you, Lisa, when she's finished. Or if you'd like to add on to this when she's finished, that'd be great.
I think I've definitely evolved. I think college is such a great spot because it's really where I could argue to some extent the personal growth over the education in college is really important. And sometimes like you learn a little bit more personally than you do actually academically, and just it's really a spot where you come into your own, and you don't have your parents saying, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. And thankfully, I didn't actually have a lot of that. Growing up, it was never like super strict of, you need to do this all the time. Anyway, so I think definitely gained a lot of confidence in various areas. I would say one that comes to mind for sure is friendships, in terms of in high school. I went to a small elementary school, kind of a small high school, and so I was surrounded with all the same kids for about 14 years maybe. And so, which is great, and it's fun, and it's like awesome to, to some extent, it's like brother and sister, like you've known everybody for so long, but you don't really get to pick these people. You're kind of given these friendships almost. And so getting into college was really awesome because I kind of realized, you get to pick the people you want to spend your time with and who you want to surround yourself with, which I think is really awesome. And it's something I was kind of thinking about is, real friends like don't make you question your friendship. So if you're hanging out with somebody and it's like you're the one always texting, you're the one always trying to like see if they're free to hang out, maybe like think to yourself, like, is this really worthwhile? Because I feel like college is a time when it's like, for some people, you gain a lot of lifelong friends. And I would say, I guess a kind of a tip I have is just to, kind of reevaluate all of your friendships and say, all right, is this person, like adding to my life, like nurturing, what I like, nurturing my values and beliefs, I guess you'd say. And if their values and beliefs kind of don't align with, not that they absolutely need to align with, but there's certain things, everybody knows like certain things go on in college. And so if that's not a way you want to go and your friend's going that way, it's a good thing to think about of, if you want to keep spending your time with them. For sure.
Awesome. Anything along those lines, Lisa, that you've seen on the outside as you've, been home and just kind of, as you've watched her experience from afar?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a maturation process that
Mm-hmm.
happens with all your children, whether they go into the military or whether they just go out on their own and they're working outside the home, or even if they're still living at home, but have now gotten a job and are adulting, but maybe still living, in their room. But some of the things that we did that I've since read are good ideas, and I didn't have a term for it. But I think, and maybe you can, I know you'll be able to articulate this better, but there's something called like bridging the time. So, she started school as a freshman, well, every year in August. Well, Parents Weekend is like the third weekend in September. So, she was knowing there wasn't this huge gap. And I know that not every parent gets to go see their kids, 5 weeks after school started or 6 weeks after school started. But, we're 1,500 miles away, and she was looking forward to us coming. And so knowing we're always kind of bridging those periods, we're already talking about, well, we talked about Christmas earlier, but, she knows that, they get out mid-December. So she's going to see us again in about 3 weeks. And then, her birthday's in February. So I think that's one recommendation I would really encourage as parents to kind of bridge those gaps in, if that's what the child is inviting you to do. Because as I said, I've seen it both ways. My son went to school 45 minutes away, and we are on campus 1,500 miles away in Texas more often than we were on campus 45 minutes away, because that was not the rhythm that our son compared to our daughter had set up. And we respected that. And so, he was close enough that he could come home when he wanted, and we would see him periodically, but he didn't invite us down as often, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and the nice part about that is we still have a very close relationship today and get to see them both when we come to Texas. So, you just have to give kids their space and allow them to invite you as much as you have to kind of bridge that gap. So,
Absolutely. And as parents, we can only do so much. And a lot of that is, like you say, what they will allow us to do. I'm so glad that was set up as such. And I'm glad that Kate, invited you all down quite a bit. And it is interesting because parents with their teens, there are different approaches. It could be the frequent visits to Texas or whatever state that the university sits. Or it could be just, maybe the teen is just maybe wanting digital dinners or screen time suppers. Maybe there's something like that they're just most comfortable with. But, it's that whole letting go phase. And not that you're fully letting go, but, it's almost like that rubber band is stretched just a little bit more as they find themselves and engage in their own interdependence. Do we want them to be totally independent of us? I'm thinking not. My 3 girls, I prefer they not be totally independent of me, but that interdependence is key. I mean, them calling for a recipe or calling their dad for help with taxes or something along those lines. We love those phone calls. And so I totally agree.
yeah.
We will be there. Yeah, just as much as they'd like us to be there, that's for sure. So that's encouraging. Awesome. So Lisa, so how can parents find that inner glow that amidst all of these circumstances that have happened in their lives? I mean, like, as that transition has taken place and it has happened, and parents are finding themselves and asking, who am I now and now what? How can they really, lean into, their inner glow?
Yeah, I think that I think it's so important that one, we have awareness. We talked about that awareness of things that light us up, but also we need to be aware of what we control and what we cannot control. And so sometimes I think that in this rubber band stretching, we hold on to things that we want to control, but we really don't have control over. And I think the more intentional we are to thinking about those things so that we can lean into the things that we do have control over, we have control just over ourselves and our interests and activities and, setting up, routines in our day, and for example, as far as leaning in, I've been leaning into an evolving morning routine for a number of years, because when the kids are little, all you're trying to do is like get dressed, get them dressed, and get out of the house on time. But now we have this space to kind of lean in and figure out what's going to get us up and going in the morning. Do we need to get sunshine? Do we need to get out and walk? Do we need to have coffee? What do we need to have? And so I think paying attention and being more intentional about your day and how you spend your time and who you spend your time with it will foster that inner glow.
Thank you. Thank you. I just received all of that you just said. I mean, that was phenomenal. And I've even been taking some notes too, just based off of what our discussion entailed today. Just, plunging into our passion and leaning into, our light ups, those things that light us up. That was communicated phenomenally. And then you worked on your marriage earlier on before that last young adult left home and the other relationships that we have. And then also Kate talked about, like her confidence was built. I mean, she went from this small, high school into this big Texas. Everything is big here in Texas. And so, but she managed that really, really good. And then evaluating, Kate, thank you for mentioning, like evaluating your friendships. That's so important. And then, controlling what we can control. And guess what? Leaving the rest to our Heavenly Father. Listen, He has all of that in control, and He is in control. And so that is so, so important. And I want to mention this, that I am so grateful, and I'm sure that you're able to relate to this, Lisa, that, we have these children. And, even when we take them to elementary school and leaving them there, it's like, oh, that's a little pull of the heartstring there, because it's like no one knows how to take care of our kids like we do. Like we birthed them, and like we know their likes and their dislikes and all of that. And so we feel a little skeptical even doing that at the elementary level. And then they go to middle school. And so that's a little bit more of the stretching of that heartstring. It's like, oh my goodness, now they're with these bigger kids and oh my good lockers and all. And then high school, it's like, oh my goodness, this is like, we're hoping all of their friends go with them so they can have people to surround them and they know people and all of that. I'm just so grateful that all of those small pulls, we experiencing that as it relates to that letting go. They're like incremental let goes. And then when they finally, or transition out, like that's the big one. So if I'm so glad that we didn't just have the big one. We'd lose our minds.
We would. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a slow, some people call it a slow goodbye. I don't like that, because you're really not saying goodbye. You're
right.
saying hello and new ways. And your friendship is growing with them as it transitions from, daughter to adult daughter and friend. And your sons as well. So, but thank goodness it's a transition over time.
Yeah. So how about we call it like a slow see you later?
I like that.
Because we look forward to seeing them later. Listen, I'm so excited we got together today. This has been just so impactful. And I know that the parents will be able to glean from what's being articulated today. So thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much, Kate, for just the information you've shared today. And for our listeners, that we're on Pointers for Parents podcast. If you'd like to re-listen to this information again, and then if you have a question, then of course you can just drop it right in our IG, and then we'll make sure that of course there's someone who can answer that question for you, or we may even have a guest like these amazing guests today. So Again, Lisa, thank you so very much. Kate, thank you. And I'm hoping that you enjoy the remainder of your break, which I know you will.
Yes.
Awesome.
And thank you, Dr. Lloyd. Appreciate you having us on.
Yes, thank you very much.
You are very welcome. And there could be an opportunity maybe in 2024 when there's time available on the schedules. And then hopefully I can invite you all back on. Okay.
We would love that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all so very much for listening. I so appreciate you all. If there are any questions, then please, I would like Lisa to share maybe a website or an Instagram handle or wherever you all can find her. And maybe if there's a question for Kate, maybe she'll send it to Kate, or if Kate wants to share, it's totally up to them. Anything?
Absolutely. You can find me at theevolvingnest.com and The Evolving Nest with Lisa on the social media. So either one.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. Take care, everyone, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Pointers for Parents Podcast.